The Giant King gave a slight nod and started toward the giant gate of blue flame. Just as he reached the entrance, he tore a bloody strip of flesh from his own mangled chest and tossed it into the giant gate of blue flame. The scrap of flesh sizzled violently, turning into a charred wisp of ash in an instant. Incredible flames, their power is close to that of an origin source. In 1,000 years, the Taking Grand Province has managed to produce some truly extraordinary talents. A flicker of approval showed on the Giant King's face. But to stop me, this flame isn't nearly enough. He touched a finger to his forehead. Beneath his golden skin, the pale star slowly began to surface. It radiated a staggering chill, which cascaded down to envelop his entire body. Hellish, desolate beast, you're coming with me. He seized the hellish, desolate beast, clapping his palms together and trapping it within his grasp. Then he turned to the ancient giants, whose colossal forms were too large to enter with him. My kinsmen, hide yourselves well. If you're captured, crush your own skulls. Do not let the Great Yin Sect turn you into a Yin corpse. King Hanshin. The ancient giants knelt on one knee in salute. Without another moment of hesitation, the Giant King strode through the giant gate of blue flame. The staggering heat instantly vaporized the layer of frost, protecting his body. The pale star on the Giant King's brow began to spin, unleashing an even more intense chill to fight back against the scorching blue flames. Seizing the moment, the Giant King pushed through the gate and entered the Deity Transformation Ruins. Steam rose from his body, his pale golden skin was scorched crimson, and his exposed jade-like bones showed signs of melting. Finally, I'm in. The Giant King wiped the pain from his face, a mocking smirk playing on his lips. So someone thinks they can move the sky-touching black pillar, do they? Let's see just what kind of monster I'm dealing with. Meanwhile, inside a hidden palace, blue magma churned within a furnace that glowed red, hot. Plunged into it was an ice-cold longsword, its dragon sigil constantly breathing out waves of staggering frost. The two forces cancelled each other out, holding everything in a delicate balance. Sect Master, if you're not going to take it, then I will. Beside him stood a middle-aged man, his hands clasped behind his back, a faint smile on his face as he watched the fire pool. This is the Heaven's Slaying Furnace, the famous magical artifact of the venerable dragon flame. It's a supreme, grade spirit artifact, powerful enough to be on the 100 spirits ranking. The sect master of the Great Yin Sect shot him a sidelong glance and scoffed. Then, why don't you take it? The man chuckled. My job was to provide the intelligence. Retrieving it is the Great Yin Sect's responsibility. That was our deal, and good business requires honesty. The man who said this was none other than the Tower Lord of Jiangxin Yipin. The sect master of the Great Yin Sect snorted. What you didn't tell me is that the listening snow sword would be here too. Another supreme, grade spirit artifact from the 100 spirits ranking. And right now, the two are locked in a delicate equilibrium. Touch one, and the other is guaranteed to erupt with catastrophic power. Forget you, even I would be killed or critically wounded. The Tower Lord of Jiangxin Yipin's smile vanished. He stared at the listening snow sword with a look of pure dread. He knew its terror firsthand. The icy breath from its dragon sigil could freeze space itself. He himself had nearly been frozen solid for eternity in the frigid ice abyss, left to perish. He'd only escaped with his life thanks to Fang Chen. What he couldn't understand was how the sword from the frigid ice abyss had appeared here, making their attempt to claim the heavens, laying furnace so much more complicated. Who knew how long the two supreme raid spirit artifacts had been locked in this standoff? An untold amount of blue flame had built up inside the heaven, slaying furnace. Yank out the listening snow sword, and all that flame would erupt in a massive, devastating explosion. Forget everyone here. The entire Deity Transformation Ruins would be incinerated. The treasure was right there, within their grasp, but they were too terrified to touch it. The sect master of the Great Yin Sect was seething with impatience. With a sharp gesture, he ripped a woman in a long yellow dress from the crowd, pulling her through the air toward him. He seized her by the throat and snarled, "Speak. How do you stop the heaven-slaying furnace?" The only way was to cool the heaven-slaying furnace. Only then could they claim it, and the listening snow sword would quiet down as well, allowing them to take both. Obtaining two supreme, grade spirit artifacts at once, the venerable would be ecstatic. The woman in yellow was none other than Biluo. Several gaping, bloody wounds pierced through her body. Her shoulder blades, in particular, were impaled by two chains pulsing with dark yin kai. The yin kai had sealed away her spirit energy, leaving her completely paralyzed. Biluo's face twisted in agony, but she spat defiantly. Even if I knew, I wouldn't tell you. If they knew how to calm the heaven, slaying furnace, they never would have begged Fang Chen to suppress it with the listening snow sword in the first place. The sect master of the Great Yin Sect wiped the spit from his face, a vicious glint in his eyes. That useless oaf, Haigu. Hasn't he caught that little tiger yet? Behind him stood 3 other shackled cultivators, all at the 8 aperture nascent soul realm. One of them, a middle-aged woman at the nascent soul realm, answered emotionlessly, "It should be soon." How could a mere little tiger possibly escape Haigu's hunt? The sect master of the Great Yin Sect glared at Biluo with a savage grin. "Still not talking, are you? We'll throw that little tiger into this fire pool soon enough, then you'll talk." Panic seized Biluo. "We really don't know how to stop it." "I'm begging you, don't hurt my child. Do whatever you want to us, just please let him go." She glanced at Huanquan, who was lying on the ground, barely breathing, and her eyes filled with despair. She thought that thanks to Fang Chen suppressing the heaven, slaying furnace, their family of 3 could finally live in peace. Who could have known a pack of wolves would show up at their door? The sect master of the Great Yin Sect sneered. "Don't worry, I'll make sure your family is reunited. I'll refine all 3 of you into obedient Yin corpse puppets. You'll be together forever." Biluo's face flooded with grief and rage, so no matter what, he was never going to let her family go. The thought of death took root in her heart. She glanced at the roiling lava of the fire pool. If death was inevitable, she would rather melt into nothing than let those monsters from the Great Yin Sect have their way with her corpse. "Biluo, stay calm." Biluo flinched, her pupils constricted, and she nearly cried out in shock. But she caught herself just in time, quickly lowering her head to hide her expression from the sect master of the Great Yin Sect. She tested the connection in her mind. "You are. That name, only Fang Chen calls me that." Using the aura of the Reverend of 6 Daos as a shield, Fang Chen had initiated a silent Zen connection with Biluo. He responded, "It's me. I've already rescued your son. He's right here with me, safe and sound. He isn't hurt. You can rest easy." Hearing that Fang Chen had saved Little Tiger, the crushing weight on Biluo's heart finally lifted. If the sect master of the Great Yin Sect hadn't been standing right there, she would have burst into tears of joy. She fought to control her emotions. She sent back, "Fang Chen, please raise him for me." Before he was even born, our master had a sage bless him. His potential is limitless. He'll grow to be an incredibly powerful spirit pet. If you raise him, he will repay your kindness 1,000 times over. "I can never thank you enough for this." Fang Chen remembered how Little Tiger had used some kind of spatial power to contain the Reverend of 6 Daos. This had to be part of that immense potential she mentioned. But it was too early to be talking about last wishes. Fang Chen replied, "Don't lose hope yet, Biluo. The enemy is strong, but it's not over until the very end. Don't give up. I'll look for an opening and see if I can get you and Huanquan out of here." Biluo sent back frantically, "Don't. Whatever you do, don't. They have 3 aperture nascent soul masters. Make one move and you're dead." "I have it under control," Fang Chen replied. Ending his conversation with Biluo, he closed his eyes and fell deep into thought. Reverend of 6 Daos said gravely, "Kid, in a situation like this, you still think you can save anyone? We don't stand a chance against even one of those 3 aperture nascent soul masters." He truly couldn't imagine how Fang Chen could possibly pull off a rescue. Just then, a ripple suddenly spread across the surface of the lava in the fire pool. It was immediately followed by another. The sect master of the Great Yin Sect caught it from the corner of his eye and glanced at the fire pool in surprise. The heaven-slaying furnace is acting up. He tossed Biluo aside and stared intently at the fire pool. Tower Lord of Junction Yippin stared at the ground beneath his feet, a look of shocked suspicion on his face. "It's not the heaven-slaying furnace. The entire Deity Transformation Ruins are shaking. Something is coming." The sect master of the Great Yin Sect frowned. "Only you and I know about this place. Who else could possibly be coming? That blue flame gate isn't something just anyone can waltz through. It took a massive effort for them to get in, sacrificing many of their precious, high-level yin corpses." He turned to unlock the shackles of a female 8 aperture nascent soul master, and said with a respectful bow, "Master Bone Willow." "Could I trouble you to investigate?" Master Bone Willow stretched her arms and legs, then drawled lazily, "If you ask me, you all should just pack up and get ready to leave. This heaven-slaying furnace, it's clear this family of 3 can't do anything about it. You're going to have to call in a venerable." With that, she summoned 5 yin corpses, each as powerful as a 7 aperture nascent soul, and shot off into the distance with them. The sect master of the Great Yin Sect looked resentful. If I were the one to bring it back, the glory would be immense, but if a venerable comes personally, I'll get no credit at all. Gazing at the heavens, laying furnace which required an external force to suppress, the sect master of the Great Yin Sect had no choice but to give up on the idea. If this family of 3 tigers could actually control the heaven, slaying furnace, why would they need a sword to keep it suppressed? At that thought, he gritted his teeth and said, Tower Lord of Jiangshan Yipin, and to my sect's 2 seniors, let's fall back. An expert from the Great Yin Sect at the 8 aperture nascent soul realm let his gaze drift over Biluo and Huanquan, a cruel amusement in his eyes. What do we do with these 2 tiger demons? The sect master of the Great Yin Sect said with a sinister chill, since we can't get the heavens, laying furnace, we'll just refine these 2 tigers into yin corpses. I don't like leaving empty-handed. The 8 aperture nascent soul expert's eyes lit up with interest. Leave one for me. I've always wanted to try refining a member of the Yao clan into a yin corpse. The sect master of the Great Yin Sect's eyes narrowed. He wanted both demonic beasts for himself. Why would he ever be willing to share? Fortunately, the 8 aperture nascent soul expert was still shackled, making it inconvenient to refine them into yin corpses just yet. A glint appeared in his eye as he said, Senior, on second thought, I believe it's best we refine them into yin corpses right here and now. These 2 tigers were left behind by a Deity Transformation Realm Master. What if they have some unknown escape ability and get away from us on the road? Them escaping is one thing, but if they leak the existence of the heavens, laying furnace and the listening snow sword, it would attract other venerables and ruin the great plans of our venerable evil crow. So, to avoid any complications, let's just kill her now. With that, he shot a cold glare at Biluo, his eyes flaring with murderous intent. Despair filled Biluo's face, yet inwardly, she felt a strange sense of calm. As long as her child was safe, nothing else mattered. Fang Chen's heart sank. Was he really going to stand by and watch Biluo die? As 1,000 thoughts raced through his mind, his gaze fell upon the Tower Lord of Jiangshan Yipin, a flicker of confusion in his eyes. He had just been with the Tower Lord in a sea cave in the East Sea a moment ago. How on earth did he appear here in the blink of an eye? Don't tell me he can create duplicates of himself. But this wasn't the time to ponder that. He met the Tower Lord's eyes and silently activated Silent Zen, his voice speaking directly into the other's mind at lightning speed, interested in making a deal. The Tower Lord of Jiangshan Yipin suddenly froze. His eyes darted around the area, pausing for a fraction of a second when they swept over the spot where Fang Chen and the Reverend of 6 Daos were hidden. What is it, Tower Lord? The sect master of the Great Yin Sect asked, noticing his strange behavior. The Tower Lord of Jiangshan Yipin chuckled lightly. It's nothing, just checking to see if we missed any treasures. The sect master of the Great Yin Sect knew the Tower Lord of Jiangshan Yipin's greedy nature, so he didn't suspect a thing. He took out an iron puppet and advanced menacingly toward Biluo. While pretending to scan the surroundings, the Tower Lord of Jiangshan Yipin cautiously replied in his mind, I'm listening. Fang Chen said, I need you to make a move and help me snatch the Dharma artifact that the sect master of the Great Yin Sect uses to control the shackles. The Tower Lord of Jiangshan Yipin laughed. Are you kidding me? He's a 7, aperture nascent soul, and I'm only a 5, aperture nascent soul. That Dharma artifact is in his spatial storage artifact. He can pull it out with a single thought and release the 2 8 aperture nascent soul masters. The moment I make a move, I'll most likely be killed. This deal isn't worth it. Fang Chen cut him off. My payment is a single grain of chrono dust. The Tower Lord of Jiangshan Yipin's pupils contracted. Deal, he said without hesitation. Fang Chen added a condition, for your use only, you can't resell it. He had to make sure it didn't fall into the hands of the venerable evil crow. The Tower Lord of Jiangshan Yipin was just as quick to agree. Done. A look of pure delight flashed in his eyes. The risk was immense, but the payoff was more than worth it. Seeing the sect master of the Great Yin Sect about to kill Biluo, Fang Chen spoke in a rapid-fire whisper. All you need to do is strike him by surprise. Force him to pull out the controlled Dharma artifact. Leave the rest to me. A glint appeared in the Tower Lord of Jiangshan Yipin's eyes. All right. Pretending to survey the area, he nonchalantly moved behind the sect master of the Great Yin Sect. The sect master was currently focused on controlling the iron golem. He noticed the Tower Lord of Jiangshan Yipin behind him, but thought nothing of it. For one, too powerful 8 aperture nascent soul experts from the Great Yin Sect were standing guard. For another, the Tower Lord only cared about profit, and at the moment, there was nothing for them to fight over. So he simply continued to control the golem, remarking coldly, "I wonder what a yin corpse from the Tiger Yao clan retains of its power from when it was alive. I'm suddenly quite eager to find out." But suddenly, one of the 8 aperture nascent soul elders cried out, "Watch out." The sect master of the Great Yin Sect's heart seized. On pure instinct, he slapped the corpse bag at his waist, and a 7 aperture nascent soul yin corpse materialized behind him. PSHK, in an instant, a cold metal spike tore through the yin corpse. Its momentum barely slowed as it plunged into the sect master's own body. He let out a pained grunt and, without even looking back, slapped at another corpse bag while roaring, "Tower Lord of Junction Yipin, have you lost your mind?" The Tower Lord of Junction Yipin, clutching a peculiar spike, offered a faint smile. "Apologies, someone made me an offer for your life." Someone, but there was no one else around. He scanned his surroundings, but his vision was obstructed in one corner. Someone was definitely hiding there. Someone had infiltrated this place completely undetected, and they had enough clout to convince the Tower Lord of Junction Yipin to risk his own life for this attack. Whoever they were no small fry. It all happened in an instant. While summoning another yin corpse to protect himself, he decisively took out an artifact and yelled, "Elders." The faces of the 2-8 aperture nascent soul experts from the Great Yin Sect twisted with fury, attacking their sect master right under their noses. This was the death wish. They were already preparing to break their restraints and strike. But just as the sect master of the Great Yin Sect pulled out the artifact, right at the moment he was about to activate it, Fang Chen made his move. He gripped the beast horn, pressed it to his lips, and commanded in a cold voice, "Soul-imprisoning lock." Amplified by the beast horn, his 5 aperture nascent soul's spiritual power instantly skyrocketed, matching that of a 9 aperture nascent soul. The sect master's spirit was locked down on the spot, completely immobilized. Fang Chen immediately broke from his cover behind the flag, unleashing shadow in the clouds and hurtling toward the sect master of the Great Yin Sect. The 2-8 aperture nascent soul experts saw Fang Chen's target, and their faces paled. If that artifact fell into his hands, they would lose any chance of breaking their own restraints, leaving them at his mercy. "You insolent whelp." Both 8 aperture nascent soul experts charged at him, but Fang Chen ignored them. His eyes were fixed on the prize. If they stopped him now, it was all over. They would die in this place. One of the 8 aperture nascent soul cultivators had clearly tempered his physical body. With a single leap, he matched the speed of shadow in the clouds, catching up to Fang Chen in midair. He slammed his bound hands together into one massive fist and aimed a brutal strike at Fang Chen's spine. Just as the blow was about to connect, a wicked laugh echoed from behind the attacker. In the next instant, space warped, and the Reverend of 6 Daos appeared, playing the role of the hunter, hunting the hunter. With a single flick of his flag, he completely enveloped the 8 aperture nascent soul expert. "Your fight is with me." The Reverend channeled his power, and the flag began to spew black smoke. The expert's skin began to corrode and liquefy, blood erupting from his festering wounds. He let out a roar of agony and rage. "The demons, smoke soul, exterminating flag." "You're the Reverend of 6 Daos." The Reverend let out that same wicked laugh. "How flattering that you remember little old me." "Now get down here." With a vicious yank, he dragged the man away, clearing the path for Fang Chen. The other 8 aperture nascent soul expert roared in fury, but couldn't afford to be distracted. Stopping Fang Chen was the only thing that mattered. He bit the tip of his tongue, and a spray of essence blood pooled in his mouth. He gathered it into a single projectile and spat with all his might. Their limbs might be bound, and their power of the nascent soul suppressed, but the raw physical strength of an 8 aperture nascent soul was undeniable. It was impossible to imagine the force packed into that single bloody projectile. A sudden sense of danger prickled at Fang Chen's back. He had just enough time to throw the Bodhisattva's cassock over his shoulders before he appeared in front of the sect master. Under the furious glare of the man's immobilized soul, he snatched the control Dharma artifact. And just as he did, the projectile of blood slammed into him. Thud. Even with the protection of the Bodhisattva's cassock, the force sent Fang Chen stumbling forward, a searing pain flaring across his back. He had to admit, the defensive power of the Bodhisattva's cassock was insane. If he had used the heaven, monitoring mirror, he'd be gravely wounded right now. But the pain was a small price to pay. The control Dharma artifact was his. He looked up at the sect master of the Great Yin Sect, his eyes turning to ice. He remembered the battle for the Netherworld Ghost Fire, when this very man from the fire worship cult had struck him with a vicious, killing blow. If the heaven monitoring mirror hadn't absorbed 70% of the impact, he would have died right then and there. This was a rare chance for payback, a chance he couldn't possibly pass up. Besides, cloaked in a shroud of lightning as he was, no one would ever know who did it. With that thought, he drew his purple sword and swung it at the man's neck. The two 8-aperture nascent soul experts tried to intervene, but it was too late. But at that critical moment, boom, 5 black shadows were sent flying backward at an impossible speed. They were the 5 yin corpses that belonged to Master Bone Willow. They had clearly run into some immeasurable, colossal power. As they hurtled through the air, their bodies disintegrated into dust. The air instantly thickened with dense yin kai and a terrifying, frenzied presence that sent shivers down everyone's spine. "All of you, run!" Crunch. The scream was cut short. Everyone in the hall stared, their eyes wide with shock. A look of horror crossed the Tower Lord of Junction Yipin's face. Was that Master Bone Willow's voice? What happened to her? The sect master of the Great Yin Sect felt a chill crawl up his spine. Whatever killed Master Bone Willow and warned them to run, it had to be a 9-aperture nascent soul, or maybe something far, far worse. Fang Chen's pupils constricted, his heart hammering against his ribs. The Reverend of 6 Daos locked eyes with him, his own expression a mask of pure terror. In that shared glance, a single, horrifying answer passed between them, the Giant King. Fang Chen forgot all about the sect master of the Great Yin Sect. He redirected his purple sword, slicing through the chains on Bilio's shoulders to restore her Yao power. Then he heaved Huanquan onto his back. The Reverend of 6 Daos, trembling, cast aside the 8-aperture nascent soul cultivator. He quickly unfurled the demon's Moke Soul exterminating flag, wrapping it around their group to conceal them. The Tower Lord of Junction Yipin's face grew grim. He slapped a high, grade invisibility talisman onto his chest and vanished from sight. Cold sweat drenched the sect master of the Great Yin Sect. He couldn't move a muscle. Fang Chen still hadn't released the soul imprisoning lock. Panic sent him into a rage. "You motherfucker, let me go!" He felt like a man tied to a tree, perfectly positioned as an easy meal for an approaching tiger. Fang Chen considered for a moment before retracting the soul imprisoning lock. He then activated the control artifact, freeing the 2 8-aperture nascent souls. Once free, the 8-aperture nascent soul closest to the exit bolted outside without a second thought. Splat, he hadn't even crossed the threshold when a monstrous tongue shot out and struck him, unleashing a torrent of yin kai as fierce as a raging inferno. At the same time, the other cultivator slapped the corpse bag at his waist, summoning several yin corpses at the 7-aperture nascent soul level to charge out of the hall. An assault of this magnitude would have instantly killed any normal 7-aperture nascent soul. Even Fang Chen would have been forced to flee, utterly powerless to resist such an attack. This was the power of an 8-aperture nascent soul. And yet, in the next instant, the 5-7-aperture nascent soul yin corpses were sent flying back into the hall. They were shattered into dust by an impossibly immense force, their surging yin kai scattering into nothing. The initial blast of energy condensed into a palm-sized blade and ricocheted back at an unbelievable speed. Slice, the struggling 8-aperture nascent soul was instantly cleaved in two. The long tongue then coiled around the 2 halves of his body and dragged them out of sight. The sect master of the Great Yin Sect and the remaining 8-aperture nascent soul, who had both been preparing to make a run for it, froze on the spot, staring motionlessly at the darkness beyond the hall's entrance. Thud, 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 the sound of heavy footsteps echoed, making the very ground tremble. The lava in the fire pool churned like a boiling cauldron. A colossal giant, easily 20 zhang tall, slowly strode into the hall. Its massive form cast a vast shadow, completely enveloping the sect master of the Great Yin Sect and the other powerful cultivator. The 2 men stood rigid with terror, not daring to move a muscle. The sect master of the Great Yin Sect's legs, in particular, were trembling uncontrollably. An ancient giant, and one with a star sigil on its forehead. That star, it was the mark of a giant king. What made the sect master of the Great Yin Sect's blood run cold was the sight of the giant king casually chewing on the 2 halves of the man's corpse, as if it were a mere appetizer. Its golden, slitted eyes were fixed on him, a mocking glint in their depths. Gulp, the sect master of the Great Yin Sect swallowed hard, his mind a complete blank. What in the hells is a giant king doing here? He screamed internally. Have the ancient giants already descended upon taking Grand Province? He was terrified beyond belief. Fortunately, the giant king's target didn't seem to be him. The creature's enormous eyes scanned the hall, and its gaze was so intense it felt like a physical blade scraping against their skin. The concealment talisman on the tower, Lord of Junction Yipin, couldn't withstand the pressure of that gaze and shattered, revealing his hidden form. Immediately after, the demons, Moke Soul exterminating flag that was cloaking Fang Chen and his companions also failed, and the entire group was exposed. The Giant King's voice boomed, calm and deep. Which one is he? Perched on the giant's shoulder, the hellish, desolate beast scanned the crowd. Its eyes swept past the sect master of the Great Yin Sect and the Tower Lord of Junction Yipin, finally settling on the group with the Reverend of Six Daos and the three tiger demons. It frowned. Where is he? I swear I sensed his presence in this palace just a moment ago. Why has he vanished? The sect master of the Great Yin Sect glanced toward the group with the Reverend of Six Daos and noticed Fang Chen was gone. It all clicked into place. The Giant King was hunting Fang Chen. Those two elders from my sect, they died because they got tangled up with him. A calculating glint appeared in his eyes. He bowed his head low. Great ones, the person you're looking for was indeed here just now. He must have used some secret technique to hide. This humble one is willing to help you find him. The Giant King turned its massive head to stare down at the sect master of the Great Yin Sect, its eyes filled with contempt. 1,000 years ago, the Giant King rumbled. The ancient giants were unstoppable. This wasn't just because of our absolute, crushing power. It was also because we had plenty of help from mortals like you. I seem to recall a few great sages who actually posed a threat to us. They all died, betrayed by their own people. Tusk, 1,000 years pass, and you creatures of the Central Land Realm are still exactly the same. The sect master of the Great Yin Sect's face burned with humiliation, but he quickly pushed it aside. If it meant saving his own life, what was a little betrayal? He forced a greasy smile. Great ones, that man is a treacherous viper. Killing him would be a service to everyone. I would be delighted to assist you. Oh, and my yin corpses are exceptionally skilled at hunting down targets in enclosed spaces like this. I hope you will grant me the chance to prove my worth. The Giant King chuckled. The boy is likely using a talisman that can block even a venerable spiritual sense. Finding him will indeed be troublesome. Fine, search for him, find him, and this king will reward you with the bloodline of the ancient giants. 1,000 years ago, many mortals in the Central Land Realm were terrified of death. They begged us for our bloodline, willingly becoming half giants. I imagine quite a few of their descendants are still around today. The sect master of the Great Yin Sect couldn't care less about the ancient giant bloodline right now. All he wanted was to please the Giant King enough to be spared. With the Giant King's approval, the sect master of the Great Yin Sect immediately slapped the 10 corpse bags at his waist, unleashing dozens of yin corpses into the hall. No matter how well Fang Chen hid, the sect master of the Great Yin Sect turned to the elder of the 8-aperture nascent soul and said, Venerable Ironbone, I need your help as well. Venerable Ironbone remained silent. He gritted his teeth, barely containing his terror of death, but he didn't move a muscle. Could the Great Yin Sect, one of the 3 spirit sects, really help the ancient giants slaughter their own people? If word got out, how could they ever show their faces in the taking Grand Province? How could they stand tall among the 10,000 races? Infighting among the human race was one thing. No matter how dirty or cruel the tactics, it was ultimately just a struggle for resources. But helping the ancient giants, monsters that saw humans as nothing but food, meant the extinction of their kind. It crossed the ultimate line of being human. He would be hunted down by his own race and cursed for eternity. He just couldn't bring himself to do it. The sect master of the Great Yin Sect's expression darkened. Venerable Ironbone, the senior is giving us a golden opportunity. Don't throw your life away. Venerable Ironbone glared at him, letting out a heavy snort. You shameless coward. You aren't fit to be the sect master of the Great Yin Sect. The sect master's face turned a sickly pale. After a moment of visible struggle, he gritted his teeth and said, You're right, I lost my way for a second. He leaped back to stand beside Venerable Ironbone and snapped at the Giant King. I am the sect master of the Great Yin Sect, and I carry its honor on my shoulders. There is no way I'd ever surrender to monsters who treat us like livestock. Venerable Ironbone was stunned. His anger melted away, replaced by a surge of relief. He nodded. It's good that you've come to your senses. It's never too late to turn back. I'll act as if today's lapse never happened. As he spoke, he suddenly felt a flash of ice, cold steel in his chest. He looked down in shock. The sect master of the Great Yin Sect had plunged a pitch-black flying sword, a gift from Sovereign Zinnia, straight through his heart. You, Venerable Ironbone, stared at the sect master in pure disbelief. The sect master turned back, his face a mask of cold cruelty. Old man, stop acting so righteous. How many people have you killed? Now you're trying to lecture me and play the hero for the human race. Give me a break! With a brutal twist of the blade, he shattered the old man's heart on the spot. Whoosh! An aged spirit shot out of the body, glaring at the sect master with pure fury before trying to vanish into the void to escape. But before he could step into the void, a massive tongue lashed out, snagging him and dragging him into the ancient giant's maw. Amidst a piercing, gut-wrenching scream, venerable Ironbone's soul was devoured. The giant couldn't help but chuckle. If we had a few more visionaries like the sect master of the Great Yin Sect, my ancient giants wouldn't even need an army to rule the Central Plains world. The sect master bowed with a smirk. The senior flatters me. Dealing with stubborn trash like that is just part of my job. Then the sect master looked toward Reverend of Six Dows and the others, a sinister glint in his eyes. Senior? To avoid any more surprises, I suggest we slaughter them all before we find that brat. Besides, it might be the perfect way to smoke him out. He couldn't afford to let a single soul know he had defected to the Giant King. If the truth got out, he wouldn't just be dead, the Great Yin Sect's reputation would be permanently trashed. To secure the outside, one must first stabilize the inside. If a sect master joins the ancient giants, who could ever trust that sect again? The powerhouses in the Deity Transformation Realm and the Bodhisattvas certainly wouldn't tolerate a threat like the Great Yin Sect. So everyone here had to die. Biluo clutched the little tiger, her face twisted in pure disgust. You are an absolute disgrace to the human race. Reverend of Six Dows actually laughed from sheer irritation. I've been a killer my whole life and thought I was a villain on the demonic path, but compared to you, hell, I'm a saint? The sect master of the Great Yin Sect said coldly, talk is cheap. Does any of that matter now? Senior, please kill them one by one. Force that boy out. If he still doesn't show, I'll use my yin parasite to search every inch of this place. The Giant King's golden slitted eye moved playfully toward the Reverend of Six Dows and the others. He chuckled, when someone offers me a feast, how can I say no? Before he could move, a cold, sharp voice rang out from the distance. Look over here, I've got something much better for you to eat. Clack, clack, clack. Everyone turned toward the source of the sound. In the center of the fire pool, right next to the heavens slaying furnace, Fang Chen brushed the ash of burnt talismans off his clothes. He glared coldly at the Giant King and the hellish, desolate beast perched on its shoulder. The hellish, desolate beast's eyes narrowed, flickering with murderous intent. It bared its teeth and let out a roar filled with absolute, burning hatred. Fang Chen? Bet you didn't see this coming. I can summon the ancient Giant King. And I bet you never imagined I'd back you into such a hopeless corner. Do you even remember how you left me with those crippling injuries, or how you struck down my avatar, Venerable Black Moon? Do you remember any of it? Fang Chen spared him a glance, his voice dripping with pure disdain. They say a dog barks loudest when its master is near. Truer words have never been spoken. The hellish, desolate beast's fury reached a breaking point. Keep acting tough, today is your funeral. King Hanshin, this is him, the one I told you about, the man who can move the sky-touching black pillar. Grind his bones to dust. Kill him now and end this once and for all. The Giant King's golden vertical eye narrowed as he sized up Fang Chen, a hint of amusement playing in his gaze. You've cultivated the fire origin. It's just a spark, but impressive nonetheless. An origin source is a power meant only for a soul transformation, venerable of the human race. To think a mere nascent soul realm brat wasn't reduced to ash during the process is beyond me. But that has nothing to do with moving the sky-touching black pillar. He crouched down, his massive head looming closer, radiating an even more suffocating pressure. His golden eye scanned Fang Chen with a mocking glint. Tell me, how did you move the sky-touching black pillar? Is it some innate talent, or do you have a secret method we ancient giants haven't discovered? If it's the latter, and that method gets out, it'll be a massive headache for the descent of the ancient giants. Fang Chen shrugged. If I tell you, will you grant me the ancient giant's bloodline? The Giant King gave a cold, dry laugh. Of course not. You're a threat to our race, you must die. I'm simply giving you the choice between a quick death or a slow, agonizing one. Fang Chen let out a sharp laugh. I don't do choices, because my fate, I decide that myself. Instantly, netherworld ghost fire surged from his right palm as the fire origin flickered into life within the flames. He gripped the listening snow sword, his voice cold as ice. "You like to eat, then I'll give you more than you can stomach." With a violent tug, he ripped the listening snow sword from the heavens, slaying Furnace. The Giant King didn't react at first, momentarily baffled by Fang Chen's move, until the sect master of the Great Yin Sect's frantic warning cut through the air. "Get away, that Furnace is dangerous." The Giant King's golden eye snapped shut as he jerked his head to the side. Boom! The heavens, slaying Furnace, suppressed for far too long, finally unleashed its full, destructive fury. A pillar of blue flame erupted with blinding speed. It moved so fast it ignited rings of fire in the air, the atmosphere shrieking with a deafening sonic boom. The blast tore a hole straight through the canopy of the Deity Transformation Ruins. Being the closest to the eruption, both Fang Chen and the Giant King bore the brunt of the terrifying assault. Even with the Giant King's quick reflexes, the edge of the fire pillar still caught him. Despite his power in the Deity Transformation Realm, nearly half of his head was vaporized. 30% of his massive, cavernous maw was simply gone. Everything to the left of his golden vertical eye had been erased from existence. Not a single drop of blood fell, the wounds were instantly cauterized into blackened charcoal. The sheer force of the impact sent the massive, crouching Giant King tumbling across the ground. Only then did the wave of unendurable agony hit him. He clutched his face with one hand and hammered the earth with the other in a frenzy. His earlier arrogance was gone, replaced by a guttural roar of pure suffering. The sound was so thunderous it sent tremors through the Deity Transformation Ruins, as if the entire realm were about to collapse. Everyone present, the hellish desolate beast included, clapped their hands over their ears, their faces contorted in pain. The roar of a Deity Transformation Realm Master was more than any nascent soul realm cultivator could withstand. It was clear he had been critically wounded. Fang Chen fared slightly better. He gripped the listening snow sword, its frigid aura neutralizing most of the fire pillar's heat. The netherworld ghost fire on his skin absorbed a bit more. Though he was left a charred mess, looking as if he'd been struck by a heavenly tribulation while crossing the tribulation, the pain was manageable and the injuries weren't fatal. He swallowed a rejuvenation pill and shouted to the group, "Move, now, the heavens, slaying Furnace isn't done yet." Just as he spoke, a high-pitched, frantic whistling erupted from the heavens, slaying Furnace. Like a boiling pressure cooker, a violent wave of fire energy began to surge outward. Fang Chen's face went pale. Swallow this, now. He grabbed a handful of Yin Kai vegetables and forced them down. The Reverend of Six Daos, Biluo, and Little Tiger followed close behind. This was the secret behind how Fang Chen could refine the fire orage in using Yin Kai to suppress the devastating heat of the flames. They beat a hasty retreat, bolting toward the exit of the Grand Hall. "Stop right there!" The Giant King let out a savage roar. He tilted his head, his massive vertical eye burning with pure rage. He wasn't just angry because he was hurt, he was humiliated. He couldn't stomach being brought low by a mere insect from the Central Plains world. He unhinged his jaw, and a long tongue whipped out like a lash. Even an 8 aperture nascent soul couldn't dodge a strike like this, let alone Fang Chen. At this moment, the Giant King wanted nothing more than to see Fang Chen dead. Boom! Right then, the heavens, slaying Furnace, erupted. Torrents of flame and molten lava surged out, liquefying the Grand Hall instantly. The massive shockwave sent the Giant King stumbling back once more. The tongue aimed at Fang Chen went wide, slamming into a distant wall instead. Seconds later, the entire Deity Transformation Ruins became a death trap with nowhere left to hide. Even worse, after a brief lull, the heavens, slaying Furnace was gearing up for an even more violent explosion. Even the Giant King felt a chill down his spine. Despite his soul transformation body, if he didn't get out now, he'd be incinerated into ash just like that first scrap of flesh. But that didn't stop him from trying to finish off Fang Chen on his way out. His eyes went cold. His long tongue curved into a hook, lashing out to snag Fang Chen. In his hand was the life-saving wish paper Guziner had given him. More accurately, it was the Confucian technique manifestation of speech. The Reverend of Six Dao's face went pale when he saw the paper. "Stop," he yelled. "Using that against a soul transformation venerable will cost you more than you can imagine." Guziner had warned him never wish for too much. Every wish demanded an equal exchange. Using this talisman against a nascent soul expert was risky, but against a soul transformation venerable, he'd likely drop dead before the wish even came true. Fang Chen narrowed his eyes. I don't have a choice. If he doesn't die today, we will. He ignited the paper instantly and roared, Giant King, embrace the heaven, slaying furnace. Whoosh, the paper crumbled into ash. Suddenly, a mysterious, ethereal power descended upon the area. It was hard to describe, a force like the noble spirit that fills the world, or perhaps the primordial essence from the highest heavens. Fang Chen felt his life force hemorrhaging. His skin turned sallow, his hair went from jet black to a brittle, dusty white, and his senses, sight, hearing, and touch, all began to fail at a visible rate. Then the power of the nascent soul, his void, flow fire force, his lightning energy, and even his physical strength began to wither away. Biluo cried out in horror, Fang Chen, stop, now. In the span of a few breaths, the vibrant 19-year-old had transformed into a frail, wrinkled old man with white hair, and he was still fading fast. Before the Giant King could even reach him, he would have withered away into a pile of dust. The Reverend of Six Daos gasped, you're paying with your very life force. The Giant King pulled back his tongue, his eyes dripping with contempt. A pathetic 3, aperture nascent soul trying to use manifestation of speech against a Deity Transformation Realm Master. Didn't whoever gave you that talisman tell you, never wish for more than you can pay for? Having fought those from the Central Plains world before, the Giant King knew exactly how human techniques worked. The manifestation of speech always demanded a heavy price. Powerful Confucian masters cultivated noble spirit within themselves, sacrificing that inner light to fuel the manifestation of speech. But Fang Chen wasn't a Confucian practitioner. For a small wish, he might get a headache or pass out. But his ambition was too great. To target a soul transformation venerable without any noble spirit meant he had to pay with his very life. The Giant King didn't even need to lift a finger. Fang Chen was already a dead man. And once he died, the manifestation of speech would break. He was throwing his life away for a wish that would never trigger. Fang Chen didn't panic. He remembered how the sect leader of Sanking Mountain saved himself after being struck by death's grip. Back then, the sect leader had swallowed a single grain of chrono, dust, using its immense vitality to fight off the rot of death. And when it came to chrono, dust, Fang Chen had plenty. If the sect leader only took 1 grain, then he would just take a whole handful. He grabbed a fistful of chrono, dust, and shoved it all into his mouth, not even bothering to count how many grains there were. A surge of raw vitality flooded his veins, rapidly knitting his decaying body back together. 1 grain, 2, 3, not until 10 full grains of chrono. Dust were consumed did the relentless drain on his life force finally halt. It was over. The heavy price for the manifestation of speech had been paid in full. A single grain of chrono, dust adds 60 years of life, 10 grains meant 600 years, the equivalent of 4 of Fang Chen's entire lifetimes gone in an instant. Someone in the nascent soul realm truly had no business making a wish that massive. The Giant King, poised to leave, suddenly froze, his pupils constricted as a jolt of pure dread spiked through his chest. Your wish, it actually worked, he gasped, his voice trembling with horror. He lashed out with his massive tongue, intent on skewering Fang Chen. If the boy died, the wish would shatter. But then, his tongue froze midair. An unspeakable, divine weight slammed down on him, pinning his body in place. No, it wasn't just weight, it was absolute control. His limbs moved against his will, his body betraying his soul as he turned toward the trembling, erupting maw of the heaven, slaying furnace. Stop, make it stop. He marched toward the furnace, looking down into the swirling, violent blue magma and white-hot flames. He screamed in pure terror, Sect Master of the Great Yin Sect. Don't just stand there, kill him now. The Sect Master of the Great Yin Sect felt a chill of his own, but one look at the world, annihilating magma raining from the sky, was enough. He didn't hesitate, he turned tail and bolted. The Tower Lord of Jiangshan Yipin offered Fang Chen a quick, respectful salute before making a frantic exit of his own. Even the hellish, desolate beast didn't stick around. It bared its teeth for a split second before leaping off the Giant King's shoulder and vanishing into the chaos. You cowards, you traitors, the Giant King roared, his voice cracking with fury and fear. But the real nightmare was just beginning. His hands reached out on their own, wrapping around the searing metal of the heavens, laying furnace in a death grip. The furnace was molten hot, liquefying his hands instantly, yet his body refused to let go. Inside the furnace, the fire churned and surged until it finally reached its breaking point. Positioned directly beneath his face, the furnace's massive maw belched out a pillar of fire. A shockwave of heat rippled out, threatening to melt his skull into slag in an instant. In this moment of life and death, the pale star flickered to life on his forehead. It vented a blast of frigid air, forming a small, bowl-shaped shield of frost. It shielded his face from the fire, hissing as it turned to steam, but the frost was thinning fast. It was a temporary reprieve at best. Terror filled the Giant King's golden-slitted eyes. Human, use your sword. Suppress this furnace. If you do, I will spare you. I'll even swear that you and your sect will be safe from the ancient giants when the Great Tribulation arrives. What? Fang Chen hesitated. He knew he couldn't protect everyone on his own. But the moment passed as quickly as it came. He had too much to protect Lone Boat City, the Azure Cloud sect, the Yao clan, the whole continent, and now the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. There was no way the ancient giants would let them all walk. The difference between a master and a slave is simple. One commands his own fate, while the other lets someone else decide if he gets to live. Fang Chen looked coldly at the Giant King as he struggled against the inferno. Then he simply gave a dismissive wave. Hang in there. At least wait until we're gone before you kick the bucket. Let's move, Fang Chen shouted to the others. Go, while he's still acting as a human shield. He swung the listening snow sword, sending arcs of frost over their heads to deflect the worst of the falling world, annihilating magma. As they fled under the sword's icy canopy, he slapped on a dozen protective talismans and wrapped himself in the demons. Mok So, the exterminating flag. Only then did he feel even remotely safe. Biluo didn't waste a second, clutching little Tiger in one arm and dragging Huenquen with the other as she sprinted for her life. Behind them, the Giant King was left alone, still forced to embrace the erupting furnace. You humans, the Giant King shrieked in a fit of rage. Finally he broke. His body was a wreck, barely kept alive by drops of true spirit blood. In his current state, he was a king in name only. He had no hope of withstanding a fire this primordial. With a sickening crack, the frost shield shattered. The roaring pillar of fire slammed directly into his head. His skull vaporized in an instant. His final scream was swallowed by a deafening sonic boom. Even headless, the power of the manifestation of speech forced his corpse to keep its grip on the furnace as the rest of his body began to incinerate. This ancient remnant had survived the apocalyptic wars of the past and 1,000 years of isolation, only to be wiped out by Fang Chen's ruthless scheming. By then, Fang Chen and his crew had made it to the central plaza. Thanks to the Giant King acting as a literal plug, the Deity Transformation Ruins hadn't been fully submerged by the magma yet. But the furnace continued to surge. Pillars of fire erupted one after another, raining molten rock into every corner. The ground itself began to liquefy under the intense heat. As the magma rained down on them, the dragon sigil on the listening snowsword flared, unleashing a blast of cold so intense it practically froze the air. It held at first, but the deluge was too much. Gaps opened in their defense, and droplets of molten fire began to find their marks. The tigers fared the best. They had a natural resistance to the local flames. To them, it was just a few nasty burns. Fang Chen was protected by his netherworld ghost fire and the Bodhisattva's cassock. Most of the impact was absorbed, leaving him with charred skin, but nothing fatal. The Reverend of 6 Daos wasn't so lucky. Despite covering himself in defensive talisman seals, the heat punched right through, searing holes through his ancient frame. If it wasn't for the Yin Kai protecting his vitals, the magma would have turned his insides to ash instantly. Even so, the old man was howling in agony. Are you kidding me? This magma is literally targeting the elderly. Talk about no respect. Little Tiger, quick, let me hide in your stomach. I don't care if it's full of crap in there. It's safer than out here. Little Tiger glared fiercely at him, its look saying, you're the one with a gut full of crap. It bared its fangs, but still opened its mouth and swallowed it whole. As more and more whirled, annihilating magma poured down, Fang Chen couldn't hold on any longer. Fortunately, the giant gate of blue flame was right ahead. With the blue flame sigil, he naturally felt no fear. Biluo and her family of 3 could also freely enter and exit the gate of flame, so he zipped through the giant gate of blue flame in an instant. The moment he stepped out, an incredibly sharp attack ambushed him. It was a black spirit artifact that made his heart skip a beat. At that moment, the dagger's owner struck, radiating overwhelming killing intent. You little bastard, die! The sect master of the Great Yin Sect roared, his face contorted with hatred. He knew the Kaseya's formidable power, so this strike was aimed directly at Fang Chen's head. But Fang Chen wasn't alone now. Biluo opened her mouth and spewed forth a blue beam of light, striking the sect master of the Great Yin Sect's chest. With a searing hiss, the sect master of the Great Yin Sect's chest was burned straight through. He screamed in agony, completely forgetting about assassinating Fang Chen, sheathed his dagger, and rapidly retreated into the distance. Glaring angrily at Fang Chen and the tiger demon family of 3, Fang Chen recovered, his face icy. You dog? You commit such evil and don't run, yet you dare stay here, intending to silence us and bury your filthy secrets. He decisively pulled out the beast horn and pressed it to his lips. Soul Shocking Spike, the Soul Shocking Spike, a technique he hadn't used in a long time, reached the power of a nascent soul, 9th layer soul attack, under the beast horn's influence. It instantly pierced into the sect master of the Great Yin Sect soul. With this strike, his death was certain, his fate the same as the sect leader of Sanking Mountain, utterly erased, body and soul. But who would have known? An eerie, piercing shriek erupted from his head as a crow, black as ink and with 3 eyes, flew out, clutching the Soul Shocking Spike in its beak. Fang Chen's expression darkened. That 3-eyed crow must have been bestowed upon the sect master of the Great Yin Sect by Venerable Evil Crow, right? He is a sect master of the Three Spirits sect, not someone easily killed. The sect master of the Great Yin Sect broke out in a cold sweat. He had just felt his soul on the verge of shattering, saved only by the life-preserving talisman Venerable Evil Crow had bestowed. He eyed Fang Chen warily, then Biluo, and finally the Reverend of 6 Daos, who had stealthily circled behind him without him noticing. His scalp prickled with dread, and he decisively pulled back and retreated. He snorted angrily. As for what happened in the Deity Transformation Ruins, you'd best keep your mouths shut. You don't want to know what my revenge will entail. He immediately snatched the crow that had dropped the Soul Shocking Spike and flown back, then vanished without a trace with a whoosh. Fang Chen's expression was grim. This sect master of the Great Yin Sect, if he lives until the war with the ancient giants, and if he doesn't face danger, then so be it. But if he does, today's betrayal will surely repeat itself. But then, those he harms might not be his own from the Great Yin Sect, they could be anyone else. This man absolutely cannot be allowed to live. Fang Chen said coldly, "The moment I get a chance, I will make sure he's dead." Biluo's face was full of disdain, and to think such a person is a sect master of the Three Spirits sect. My master once hated nothing more than treacherous scum who betray their friends for glory. Brother Chen, let's go report him to their venerable. We'll see if they dare spare him. Fang Chen and the Reverend of 6 Daos, however, exclaimed in unison, "Absolutely not." Biluo looked at them in confusion, frowning. "Why? Is it because we lack proof?" Fang Chen said in a deep voice, regardless of evidence, "Do not seek out Venerable Evil Crow." The sect master of the Great Yin Sect surrendered to the Giant King. The consequence of this was the Great Yin Sect being purged by other sects. What do you think is the best solution to that? Is it to eliminate the source of the problem, the sect master of the Great Yin Sect? Biluo's eyes darted, and her expression immediately stiffened. She asked tremblingly, "Are you saying that Venerable Evil Crow would kill those who know, to protect the Great Yin Sect?" Fang Chen nodded. "Exactly. If you can't solve a problem, you eliminate the one who brings it up. It has been this way since ancient times." Biluo gritted her teeth. "But if Venerable Evil Crow protects the sect master of the Great Yin Sect like this, isn't he afraid that the sect master will truly defect to the ancient giants in the future?" Fang Chen replied, "What of it? As long as they can protect the Great Yin Sect for now, what happens in the future is a problem for the future." Biluo clenched her fists in frustration, then let them fall powerlessly. She knew Fang Chen was right. If they truly dared to report, it was hard to say whether the sect master of the Great Yin Sect would face consequences. But those who made the accusation would certainly be silenced by Venerable Evil Crow. Just then, the seabed cracked and began to shake violently, and the giant gate of blue flame rapidly collapsed. At the same time, the void ahead emitted a tearing sound. The Deity Transformation Ruins, hidden within space, finally couldn't withstand the torrent of world, annihilating magma, and completely revealed itself from the void. As far as the eye could see, a landscape choked with blue magma stretched before them. The former plaza, hundreds of small paths, and hidden palaces had all melted into a desolate wasteland. Only a single furnace remained, embedded in the ground, PFFTPFFTPFFFDing small streams of magma into the sky. After furiously venting all its internal fire, the burning furnace was finally satisfied. Fang Chen pushed through the searing heat and walked closer. Seeing it was still spewing magma, he plunged the listening snow sword into it. The burning furnace shuddered, stopped its eruptions, and visibly cooled down. Fang Chen looked at Biluo, frowning. Besides indiscriminately spewing magma at friend and foe, what other use does this furnace have? Biluo answered without hesitation, "To boil water, of course." Fang Chen was stunned, and the Reverend of 6 Daos froze. "Boil what? Boil water. This is a supreme, grade spirit artifact, meant for boiling water. Biluo stated with absolute certainty, "That's right, aren't furnaces just for boiling water?" Well, technically, she wasn't wrong, but this purpose was far too mundane, wasn't it? It didn't fit the fierce and domineering name of heaven, burning furnace, in the slightest. Biluo thought hard, then remembered something. Oh, right, Master occasionally used it to stew soup too. Fang Chen rolled his eyes, disgustedly weighing the heaven, burning furnace. No wonder your master abandoned the heaven, burning furnace here. Turns out it's utterly useless. The Reverend of 6 Daos stroked his chin, pondering. How is it that I feel like I've heard the name heaven, burning furnace somewhere before? Kid, why don't you give that furnace to me? Biluo scooped up the furnace, shoving it into Fang Chen's arms, then shot a pointed glance at the Reverend of 6 Daos. This is for my brother Chen, don't even think about it. Unable to refuse such a generous gift, Fang Chen could only put away both the listening snow sword and the heaven, burning furnace. As the heaven, burning furnace was put away, the intense heat rapidly dissipated, replaced by an icy chill that turned the air bitingly cold. Fang Chen looked towards the source of the chill. Within a pile of collapsed ruins, a faint pale corner was exposed. Brushing aside the debris, he saw it was none other than the pale star. Is this the Giant King's? He remembered the pale star on the Giant King's forehead. His entire body had melted away without a trace, yet this star remained. Fang Chen looked surprised. Reverend of 6 Daos stroked his beard and explained, "This is a source star condensed by an ancient giant. It's their equivalent to the divine halo, used by those in the human race's Deity Transformation Realm. From the look of it, this one was an ice giant." Fang Chen paused, processing the information. So, there are different types of giants. Reverend of 6 Daos nodded. "Of course. In our central land realm alone, we have tens of thousands of different races. You didn't think ancient giants all came from the same mold, did you? However, the differences only become obvious once they reach the Giant King level. The most distinct trait is the star between their eyes. As far as I know, they aren't just limited to ice. There are fire giants, wind giants, poison giants, the list goes on. They are a diverse and strange lot, each with their own unique powers." Fang Chen felt a chill. So, once an ancient giant reaches the Giant King level, they don't just have overwhelming physical strength, they command the power of the origin source. That was trouble. He wondered what kind of Giant King Venerable Mantra had encountered. Fang Chen rubbed his chin as he looked at the star on the ground. "I'll drop this off at the Supreme Rivers and Mountains Tower and see if anyone wants it. Maybe I can trade it for some soul jade paper." He wasn't reckless enough to touch a Deity Transformation Realm object directly. He pulled out the beast horn and blasted the star with a spiritual strike soul, shocking spike. Reverend of 6 Daos was used to his antics, but Biluo looked baffled. "Aren't you being a bit too paranoid?" To her shock, the star let out a muffled scream of a giant king the moment the soul, shocking spike hit it. A drop of golden essence blood seeped out, wrapping around the star. In an instant, it began to sprout veins, bones, and flesh. Within seconds, a 20-foot-tall mini-giant had materialized out of thin air. Not even the well-traveled Reverend of 6 Daos could believe his eyes, a single drop of blood growing into a full ancient giant. Based on its height, it looked like an infant, but with that star on its forehead, wouldn't it naturally grow into a new giant king? The creature clutched its head, howling in agony. Fang Chen's soul, shocking spike, had clearly dealt a devastating blow to its consciousness. "Fang Chen, you destroyed my final remnant soul. I'll haunt you for the rest of your life." The creature roared with a twisted, venomous expression, its face contorted in pure hatred. It turned out that when he couldn't withstand the fire pillar, he had ejected his soul and hid it inside the star, hoping to survive the disaster. He'd been lucky. The fire pillar had mangled his spirit, but a single remnant soul had survived. Using the drop of blood in the star, he had the power to regrow his entire body. Even better, Fang Chen had been clueless, enough to find the star and plan to take it back. It was the perfect setup for revenge. But he never dreamed Fang Chen would randomly blast the star with a soul, shocking spike for no reason. It blew his soul to bits. This guy was a sneaky bastard, not even human. Fang Chen jumped. It was that giant king. The guy was still alive. He immediately gripped the beast horn and unleashed another soul, shocking spike. He fired one spike after another until the giant king's eyes rolled back and he collapsed onto the ground. Fang Chen didn't stop until his own soul energy was almost depleted. Is he finally dead now? Biluo gave him a strange look. "I've heard of beating a dead horse, but I've never seen anyone beat a dead soul into oblivion." She actually felt a bit sorry for the giant king. Against anyone else, he might have escaped, but he had the misfortune of running into Fang Chen, a man whose caution bordered on the insane. Reverend of Six Dows's lip twitched. No one could survive that many shocking spikes. Even the King of Hell would be running for cover. Fang Chen rubbed his nose and pried the star off the 20-foot giant's forehead. As for the body formed by the blood, Fang Chen raised his purple sword, instinctively wanting to take the head. Then he changed his mind and stored the corpse away instead. He wanted to see what kind of power Venerable Evil Crow could get out of turning an ancient giant into a yin corpse. If the results were impressive, he'd quietly try making an ancient giant yin corpse himself. The Deity Transformation Ruins were now completely destroyed. Fang Chen turned to Biluo and her family. If you have nowhere else to go, come to my Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. I'll provide you with a place to stay, free of charge. Biluo rolled her eyes at him. Just say you want me and Huanquin to guard your place, free of charge, my foot. I've figured you out. You're a total fox. After seeing his schemes and tactics today, she realized his innocent and honest act from before was a total sham. But that act was what brought them together and led to him saving her family today. Instead of being angry, she felt quite relieved. Fang Chen's face turned slightly red. No, I'm a straight shooter. So, Sis Biluo, are you coming or not? Before Biluo could answer, Little Tiger cheered, Mom, I want to go to Uncle's house. Biluo was stunned, then laughed. Unbelievable, Fang Chen, you even tricked my son into calling you uncle. I guess I don't have a choice. Fang Chen smiled, then it settled. Suddenly, a realization struck him. By the way, how is your family's cultivation still intact? I thought your power would drop below the nascent soul level once you left the Deity Transformation Ruins. Biluo glanced at Reverend of Six Daos, then stared into Fang Chen's eyes without saying a word. She clearly wanted to speak with him in private. Fang Chen took the hint. He used Silent Zen to establish a mental link with her. You asked me this once before, and I didn't answer. Biluo said, for one, I didn't trust you enough back then. And second, you were only in the core formation realm. Even if I told you, you wouldn't have understood. Fang Chen nodded slightly. If it's inconvenient, you don't have to say anything. Everyone has their secrets. It's fine. Biluo said, you've done so much for my family. I don't even know how to begin repaying you. I'm telling you this because I consider you one of us. I hope that one day, this might lead you to a fortuitous opportunity. Oh, seeing how serious she was, Fang Chen focused his full attention on her words. Biluo said, before our master left, he told us the Deity Transformation Ruins were a sanctuary for my family. He warned us not to leave until his return, lest we fall into danger. To ensure our safety, he placed a domain over the three of us. If we leave the Deity Transformation Ruins, our cultivation will be severely crippled. Fang Chen listened in silence. At first, it didn't seem like much, but a slow chill began to crawl up his spine as the implications set in. These ruins had once been the seat of an ancient empire. The demon emperor of the North Sea once mentioned that he never imagined the North Sea was once a vast continent. A whole continent lost to the tides. The world had shifted so drastically, this must have happened at least 1,000 years ago. The domain cast by the master here, Venerable Dragon Flame, was it still active after an entire millennium? How was that possible? No matter how long a Venerable's lifespan was, they couldn't live for 1,000 years. He swallowed hard, his mind racing. Biluo continued, I asked the master what would happen if the ruins were destroyed. He said the domain will simply vanish, and I will feel it. Biluo stopped there, her gaze heavy. She gave him a pointed look. Little brother Chen, our domain only just vanished. Do you realize what that means? Master should be sensing our situation at this very moment. If he still values our bond and comes looking for us, you must seize that opportunity. Only then did Fang Chen realize what fortuitous opportunity Biluo was talking about. Her master was likely now a figure in the Sage Realm. If he still cared for his former companions, he would arrive soon. He cupped his hands in respect. Thank you for looking out for me, Sister Biluo. Biluo sighed softly. Just keep it in mind, but don't get your hopes up too high. The three of us spent those years in a deep sleep. To us, 1,000 years was nothing but a dream. But the master had to endure every single day and year of that millennium in the outside world. To him, we are echoes from a distant past when he was still just a venerable. He might not care for us the way he did back then. Fang Chen took it all in and nodded slowly. Time erodes everything. After 1,000 years, even the deepest bonds can fade into nothingness if they aren't forgotten entirely. Besides, Biluo's family were merely his spirit pets. He offered some comfort. Rest easy in the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion, Sister Biluo. Whether your master comes for you or not, I will look after you. She nodded gently. Thank you, little brother Chen. What are you two whispering about behind my back? The Reverend of Six Daos asked, realizing they were communicating via silent Zen. Fang Chen shrugged. We were praising you, saying how you're a devious old fox, calculating and full of schemes. The Reverend of Six Daos scoffed, pot calling the kettle black. You're the one who schemed a Deity Transformation Realm expert to death, who's the real devious fox here. Fang Chen didn't bother bickering. He scanned the area one last time to make sure they hadn't missed anything, then prepared to lead the group out. Suddenly, a world-shaking explosion erupted from the ocean floor in the far distance. Their eyes sharpened instantly, fixed on the horizon. Fang Chen's eyes flickered, and he bolted toward the source of the noise. Was it the Great Yin Sect, or the hellish desolate beast? Before a deep-sea trench, the hellish desolate beast, still disguised as Elder Xiang, was fuming with shock and rage. Tower Lord of Junction Yipin, what the hell is wrong with your body? The Tower Lord of Junction Yipin glanced at his severed arm. There was no blood. The wound was nothing but a hollow, black void. He didn't answer. Instead, he stared at the hellish desolate beast. You really are a cunning bastard, aren't you? Since this Elder Xiang had been so close with the Giant King, his identity wasn't hard to guess. He had to be the hellish desolate beast. Ever since they left, the Tower Lord had been tailing him to see what his true goal was. As it turned out, his target was the Tower Lord's own body. Elder Xiang's cover was blown, and that body was useless now. The beast needed a new host. And the Tower Lord, a 5-aperture nascent soul expert who controlled a massive commercial sect, was the perfect candidate. The Tower Lord of Junction Yipin thought he was the one stalking the hellish desolate beast, but the beast had lured him there on purpose. Near the trench, the creature teamed up with an ancient giant lying in wait to launch a brutal ambush. If he hadn't had so many tricks up his sleeve, he would have been toast. The hellish desolate beast's expression shifted. We need to go now, he hissed. The Tower Lord of Junction Yipin had just detonated a talisman, and the explosion had caused a massive commotion. If Fang Chen and his crew had died in the Deity Transformation Ruins, fine, but if they survived, they'd be here any second. Without a second thought, the hellish, desolate beast bolted. He glanced back and barked an order, split up. If you can't escape, remember what the Giant King said. Smash your own head in. Don't leave any witnesses for the Great Yin Sect to find. Do you hear me? The ancient giant nodded and scrambled away in the opposite direction. It wasn't long before Fang Chen and the Reverend of Six Daos stormed the area. Fang Chen glanced at the Tower Lord of Junction Yipin, who was clutching his arm. The hellish desolate beast went that way, the Lord said, and the ancient giant went this way. Fang Chen's heart raced. These two were key players. Narrowing his eyes, he said, Old man, you track the ancient giant. I need him alive. Don't let him die. The Reverend of Six Daos gave a dry chuckle. He thinks he can just smash his own skull in his dreams. With a playful smirk, he pulled out the heaven, monitoring mirror, and gave chase. Fang Chen cupped his hands to the Tower Lord of Junction Yipin. Thanks for the lead, Pavilion Master. He produced a grain of chrono, dust, and a rejuvenation pill. Here is the item for our deal, plus a pill for your injuries. The Tower Lord of Junction Yipin took them, his face lighting up with joy. I knew your Heavenly Secrets Pavilion would be one of my big-time clients. This was a hell of a deal. Fang Chen caught a glimpse of the Lord's injured arm and saw nothing but a pitch, black, hollow void. He frowned. Is that even a human body? He thought back. One moment the Tower Lord was in the East Sea's underwater caves, and the next he was with the Sect Master of the Great Yin Sect in the Deity Transformation Ruins. The man seemed to be everywhere, appearing at every major event. Meeting him once or twice might be a coincidence. 3 or 4 times, that was no accident. He asked pointedly, Pavilion Master, do you know some kind of cloning technique? Stowing the items away, the Tower Lord of Junction Yipin laughed. Want to know? Pay up. He held out his palm. Fang Chen rolled his eyes. Forget I asked. He leaped into the air, pursuing the direction the hellish, desolate beast had taken. Knowing that beast, he wouldn't just run in a straight line. But it didn't matter. As long as Fang Chen could get within 500 miles, he had a way to reel him in. Calculating the movement speed of a 4-aperture nascent soul, Fang Chen used shadow in the clouds to give chase for a few minutes before coming to a dead stop. They should be within 500 miles of each other now. This was the perfect range for the void fishing rod to snag its prey. He closed his eyes, visualized Elder Xiang's face, and cast his line. Meanwhile, the beast had suppressed his aura and slapped on a precious high-grade dustless talisman. Even a cultivator in the nascent soul realm wouldn't be able to detect him now. He sneered to himself. Fang Chen, the tables have turned. Now I'm the one using a high-grade dustless talisman to hide from you. Let's see how you like being the one left in the dark. Just then, he felt the sand shift slightly, as if something tiny was burrowing through it. He ignored it at first, thinking it was just a small fish. Suddenly, the hellish, desolate beast's face went pale. He brushed the sand away, only to find a rift in the void opening right behind him. A fishing line snaked out from nowhere. He tried to fight back instinctively, but the line yanked with sudden, violent force, dragging him toward the rift. Terror gripped the hellish, desolate beast. At the last second, he made a desperate move. He shrank his body, transforming into a palm-sized version of a hellish, desolate beast, and tumbling out of his robes. Whoosh! The hook snagged his empty clothes and vanished through the rift. The hellish, desolate beast smacked his forehead in realization and rushed forward to grab them back. He roared, "My spatial storage artifact is still in those clothes." But the rift snapped shut. There was nothing he could do. He didn't understand how it happened, but his gut told him one thing. The enemy was likely going to try it again. He didn't wait around to find out. He bolted. It had barely fled 500 miles when a gleaming golden fishhook zipped past, narrowly missing it. The hellish, desolate beast broke out in a cold sweat. Fang Chen. Once the initial shock wore off, fury and hatred took its place. The giant king, I poured everything into resurrecting. You destroyed him. Fang Chen, you live to ruin my plans. This isn't over. It opened its maw and spat out another spatial storage artifact. A quick scan of its contents revealed several vials of true spirit blood. Thank goodness, with this much true spirit blood left, I have enough to see one more plan through. I just hope that ancient giant doesn't fall into the hands of the Great Yin Sect. For 1,000 years, it had sustained itself by consuming the flesh of the giant king. An untold amount of the king's blood had condensed within its very being. All the giant king needed was to reclaim his celestial form, and he could be reborn from a single drop of blood, regaining most of his power. If that venerable evil crow hadn't discovered the blood, things might still be salvageable. But if he has, then the giant king has lost his only chance to be reborn. Elsewhere, Fang Chen cast his line one last time, but still came up empty. That slippery bastard, he muttered, his expression darkening. This was his first time trying to catch someone with the void fishing rod. His target had managed to slip away. Staring at the pile of clothes he'd reeled in instead, he was about to toss them aside. But then, something caught his eye. A talisman stuck to the fabric. A look of delight crossed his face. A high-grade dustless talisman. Looks like our friend made out like a bandit on Mount Sanking. He rummaged through the clothes a bit more and, clink, a spatial storage artifact tumbled out from a sleeve. Fang Chen stared at it. It looked familiar, then it hit him. He gasped. Yandaeon's spatial storage artifact. He was completely floored. This was the very same spatial storage artifact he'd claimed as a trophy after killing Yandaeon. Later, he'd used a trap sealed inside it to grievously wound Perfected Xiaoi of the Divine Journey sect, at which point it fell into the man's possession. And finally, after Perfected Xiaoi was devoured by the hellish desolate beast, it ended up in the beast's clutches. And now, after changing hands so many times, it was finally back with him. He remembered it all too well. Yandaeon had used a Thunder Evolution token, supposedly linked to the heart of the Heavenly Abyss, to lure him into opening the spatial storage artifact and springing its deadly trap. He also recalled that the Tower Lord of Jiangshan, Yipin, had personally come to the continent just to find Yandaeon and retrieve this very artifact. A flicker of excitement ignited in his eyes. He immediately opened the spatial storage artifact. It was filled with a mishmash of items, some belonging to Yandaeon, others to the hellish, desolate beast. His eyes scanned the contents, and he quickly spotted a token tossed into a corner. He snatched it up immediately. After probing its contents with his spiritual sense, his face lit up. It's really the heart of the Heavenly Abyss. The 4th volume. And it's the complete version. A grin spread across his face. He couldn't wait to see the looks on the faces of the venerables from the sanctuary of myriad tribulations when they discovered he'd mastered yet another of the 6 divisions of heavenly thunder. Continuing his search, he soon found a peculiar red jade casket. It was covered in sealing talismans and bore a simple four-character inscription, a gift from Gong Sun Yan. It looked like something that would belong to a woman. Definitely not the hellish desolate beast or Yandaeon. Who was Gong Sun Yan? He picked up the red jade casket and opened it. Inside, there was only a letter and a single, unremarkable copper coin. Fang Chen frowned. The red jade casket itself had to be 1,000 times more valuable than this coin. Puzzled, he curiously opened the letter. It contained only a few short lines. But the words written there left Fang Chen stunned. Ling Jing, I hope this letter finds you well. Our fateful connection began with this coin. Today I return it to you, and with it, our connection ends. Fates begin and end. Life is as fleeting as a dream. In my next life, I hope to be a beggar once more, and you, the beautiful lady who hurries past. Do not linger for my sake any longer. So these were the last words of a dying man to the woman he loved, but could never have. Feeling a pang of guilt for prying, he carefully closed the letter and placed the red jade casket back where he found it. A question surfaced in his mind. Who was this Gong Sun Yan, and why was he resolved to die? He pushed the thought aside. He had his own death to worry about. He couldn't afford to get tangled in someone else's tragedy. He shot back to the trench to regroup with the others. Reverend of 6 Daos had already returned, his boot planted firmly on the shrieking ancient giants beneath him. He had trussed the ancient giants up in heavy chains like a tight bundle, so securely that they couldn't even manage to kill themselves. Seeing Fang Chen return, the Reverend kicked his captives over. He dusted off his hands, caught the ancient giants for you, just as promised. But what's your game plan for trading them for venerable Evil Crow's cultivation method? You need to watch your back. This venerable Evil Crow is bad news. He might just deny your request for the cultivation method and forcefully seize the ancient giants for himself. Fang Chen gave a half-smile. Relax, he wouldn't dare. Clearly, he already had a countermeasure in mind. Meanwhile, outside the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion, Wai Wuji hunched over, his voice dripping with reverence. Senior, this is the new pavilion of Heavenly Secrets. The Fang Chen you're looking for is right inside. Venerable Heart, Bane's gaze swept across the plaque-reading Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. A chilling, murderous glint flashed in his eyes as he let out a dark chuckle. My dear disciple, you like to play games, do you? Well, your master is going to play along. He strode past the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion's Sect Gate Tower. An invisible, suffocating bloodlust washed over the entire area. The master of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion and Demon Emperor Nuxin sensed the oppressive aura immediately. They shot into the sky, finding an elderly man hovering there, a glowing divine halo spinning behind his head. The master of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion's pupils contracted. Forcing himself to stay calm, he bowed. Senior Venerable, I am the master of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion. How might we serve you today? Venerable Heart, Bane swept an imperious gaze across the surroundings, his aged eyes brimming with cold cruelty. Where is Fang Chen? He was here to cause trouble for Fang Chen. The master of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion's mind raced, though his expression remained unflinching. Senior Fang Chen is currently at the Directorate of Astronomy. If you have orders for him, I would be more than happy to relay the message on your behalf. He had no choice but to drop the Directorate of Astronomy, hoping its reputation would make this terrifying venerable think twice. The Directorate of Astronomy. Venerable Heart, Bane narrowed his eyes. That organization had been founded by the sages of old, and their shadow still loomed over it today. Naturally, it was a force he had to respect. But what connection did Fang Chen have with the Directorate of Astronomy? Before his doubts could settle, Wai Wuji sneered. Senior, he's lying. Fang Chen isn't at the Directorate of Astronomy at all. Just a day ago, I saw him with my own eyes at the East Sea. They are willing to lie straight to a venerable's face just to shield Fang Chen. If you don't teach them a lesson, they'll think you're nothing but a pushover. Vicious hostility exploded in Venerable Heart, Bane's eyes, as he shot a venomous glare at the master of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion. The sheer weight of that single gaze violently crushed against the master of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion, causing him to stagger and violently cough up a mouthful of blood. You dare try and play me for a fool. The master of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion wiped the blood from his mouth, shooting an icy look at Wai Wuji. Does Fang Chen even have a grudge against you? No grudge at all, Wai Wuji declared with sickening self-righteousness, but if a venerable is hunting him down, Fang Chen must have committed some grave sin. By helping the venerable, I am simply delivering heavenly justice. Am I wrong? Shameless, the master of the heavenly secret pavilion spat, his gaze sharp enough to cut glass. He turned back to Venerable Heart, Bane, his tone heavy. Senior Venerable. Fang Chen has the ability to move the sky-touching black pillar. He will be absolutely vital in the upcoming war against the ancient giants, indirectly saving countless lives. For the sake of those lives, could you look the other way for now? Let him atone for his sins on the battlefield. Venerable Heart, Bane's face was completely indifferent. Why should I care how many insects die in your taking Grand Province? I will ask you only one more time, where is Fang Chen? The master of the heavenly secret pavilion's heart sank into his stomach. This man wasn't a venerable from the taking Grand Province, and he was dead set on slaughtering Fang Chen. Seeing their stubborn silence, Wai Wuji let out a malicious sneer. Words are wasted on them, venerable. Butcher a few of them to jog their memories. Venerable Heart, Bane's eyes narrowed into dangerous slits. A suffocating storm of bloodlust began to violently swirl around his body. Just then, a soft, melodic voice drifted through the air. Senior Venerable Mantra, Fang Chen will be returning shortly. You have nothing to worry about. Venerable Mantra. Venerable Heart, Bane's head snapped toward the source of the voice, his aged eyes instantly constricting in shock. Two breathtaking beauties, dressed in robes whiter than driven snow and looking like figures stepped out of a flawless painting, were casually strolling through the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. And one of them was none other than Venerable Mantra. He was taken entirely off guard. What in the world is she doing here? The master of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion's eyes darted between them. The realization hit him immediately. Fairy Cloud, Raiment had purposely arranged for Venerable Mantra to make a timely appearance. He bowed. Venerable Mantra is guarding the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion on Fang Chen's behalf. Venerable Heartbane was stunned. She's guarding the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion for him. What in the world is their relationship? The master of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion chuckled. Come now, Venerable. A young man, a young woman. You know how these things go. His words were intentionally vague. He thought to himself, hey, I didn't say a thing. If some nasty rumors start spreading, that's not on me. Go talk to Fang Chen if you've got a problem. A flicker of disbelief crossed Venerable Heart, Bane's face. Venerable Mantra and Fang Chen involved. That's impossible, isn't it? But then he saw Venerable Mantra entering the Grand Hall, walking shoulder to shoulder with Fang Chen's companion as if they were equals. And he couldn't help but think there might be some truth to it. So, what now, he thought. With Venerable Mantra here, I can't very well kill someone from the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion right under her nose. Wai Wuji's face was a mask of pure jealousy. That bastard Fang Chen, as if having Venerable Mantra wasn't enough, he has to monopolize the Pearl Demon Empress too. It's infuriating. His eyes shifted. He sent a private message through his spirit. Venerable, I just got intel from the Directorate of Astronomy. Every sect has to dispatch an expert to the sky-touching Black Pillar. I'll bet anything the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion sends Fang Chen. We can ambush him there. A cold glint appeared in Venerable Heart, Bane's eyes, as he nodded. Fang Chen had to die. It didn't matter if he'd latched onto Venerable Mantra for protection. He cast one last, long look at the grand hole Venerable Mantra had entered, then turned and vanished. Just before he left, a strange thought pricked at him. Something's not right. Where is Venerable Mantra's divine halo? But the thought was gone as quickly as it came. Whatever was happening in the taking Grand Province wasn't his problem. He had better things to worry about. As the two of them departed, the master of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion let out a heavy sigh of relief. But as he looked toward the sky-touching Black Pillar, his brow creased with worry again. We're safe for the moment, he murmured, but Fang Chen, please, don't let anything happen to you. Meanwhile, deep within the taking Grand Province lay the region's most dangerous, forbidden land. A great azure ox let out a loud moo, its hooves thundering as it scrambled out of the dark, forbidden zone. On its back, a dust-covered old man Tianji frantically beat at the sinister smoke clinging to his clothes. The origin of lightning, which had been floating before his chest to shield him, was now terrifyingly dim. He had come dangerously close to dying in there. But just as he'd feared, the remains of the Calamity Sage had been tampered with. The body had been drained of every last drop of blood. In our central land realm, he thought, there are no creatures that practice cultivation by draining the blood of others. Old man Tianji's expression hardened. He lifted his gaze toward the central plains. If such a creature exists, then it can only be one of the bloodthirsty Shura from the infernal realm. It seems that glimpse of destiny I saw years ago was accurate. A powerhouse from the infernal realm has infiltrated our central land realm, and they've already reached the Sage realm. A trace of fear appeared on his weathered face. If word of this got out, it would throw the entire Central Plains into chaos. I have to get back. I need to report this to the Saints immediately. He was about to leave when a sickening chill washed over him. Pustules suddenly erupted across his face, and blood began to seep from his gums. It felt like some unseen cosmic malice had enveloped him. Old man Tianji wiped at a festering sore on his face, the pain causing him to grimace and bare his yellowed teeth. Then, without any warning, a tooth came loose and fell out. This is a heavenly curse. Old man Tianji's face paled. He immediately began making calculations with his fingers, divining the cause. A moment later, his eyes widened in disbelief. It's venerable heart. Bane, he's about to find the boy. Even as he spoke, more sores erupted on his face, already spreading down his neck and across the rest of his body. Terror seized old man Tianji. He bolted upright. How can the heavenly curse be this powerful? When I divined the location of that hidden expert from the infernal realm, I was meddling with the fate of the entire infernal realm and the resulting curse. Only gave me a few zits, so what is the deal with this boy? Venerable heart, Bane just gets close to finding him, and the heavenly curse makes my entire body erupt in festering sores. If he died, all hell would break loose. Panic visibly washed over old man Tianji. The moment he detected two distinct threads of heavenly fate intertwined with Fang Chen, he knew this boy was no ordinary mortal. Assisting venerable heart, Bane in ambushing him, was a guaranteed one-way ticket to divine retribution. But he never expected the heaven's wrath to be this terrifying. Staring at the tiny wisp of thunder origin in his hand, old man Tianji slapped his thigh in sheer, bitter regret. This was the worst trade of my life. Just what kind of monster are the young emperor and venerable heart, Bane trying to mess with? This divine punishment is absolutely horrific. At that moment, grotesque blisters continued to erupt across his skin, rapidly festering into a mass of oozing sores. The great azure ox turned its head, taking one look at what could only be described as a humanoid toad. A violent shudder ran down the ox's hide, it kicked its hooves, and mercilessly bucked him off in pure disgust. Old man Tianji was terrified. If these boils keep spreading, I'm going to die right here. He frantically cupped his hands toward the sky. Wait, hold on, let me make amends. It was as if some unseen cosmic entity heard his plea. The blisters plaguing old man Tianji slowly faded, restoring his body to its original state. Letting out a massive sigh of relief, old man Tianji collapsed onto the dirt, completely drained. Too close, that almost cost me my life. What kind of background does that kid have? Meanwhile, at the mountain gates of the Great Yin Sect, Reverend of 6 Daos was draped in a crimson kasaya. A golden alms bowl rested in his left hand, a monk's staff in his right. His head was shaved completely bald, complete with authentic-looking ordination scars. A vein throbbed violently on his forehead. Kid, why am I the one playing pretend as a monk? He shot a glaring sigh. Diet Fang Chen, who still looked dashing, elegant, and effortlessly cool in his jet black robes. He felt incredibly shortchanged. Fang Chen looked him over and reasoned, Venerable Evil Crow has seen my face. He knows I don't follow the Buddhist path. But he hasn't seen you. That makes you the perfect decoy. Reverend of 6 Daos gritted his teeth. Fine, he growled, so what's the plan? Don't tell me you think a simple monk disguise is enough to scare off Venerable Evil Crow. Fang Chen flashed a sly, fox-like grin, an ordinary monk, obviously not enough to intimidate Venerable Evil Crow. Before Reverend of 6 Daos could process that, Fang Chen marched right up to the bounty board and ripped down the wanted poster for the ancient giants. He tilted his head back and roared, Fang Chen, nominal disciple of Venerable Heart, Bane, and 6 Daos, lay disciple of Bodhisattva Heavenly Hearing. Have successfully captured the ancient giants. We seek an audience with Venerable Evil Crow. At the first title, Reverend of 6 Daos felt a knot of dread in his stomach. But at the second, his soul nearly blasted out of his body in sheer terror. Does this brat not know that Bodhisattva Heavenly Hearing listens to all sounds across creation? Just uttering the name Bodhisattva Heavenly Hearing pings his divine senses instantly. How dare you fake being his disciple? Wait, this little bastard was too scared to do it himself, so he used me as the meat shield. Reverend of 6 Daos was so furious, he wanted to smash his monk's staff over Fang Chen's head and send him straight to the Western Paradise. He frantically clawed at his kasaya, trying to tear it off. You can't just forge a connection to a bodhisattva. What if the Bodhisattva actually shows up and says, "The Buddha fulfills all desires, let me grant your wish," and purifies me on the spot? Where would I even cry for justice? But just then, the surrounding air froze solid, his vision pitched to black. When his sight returned, he found himself teleported deep within the Great Yin Sect, standing at the very peak of a mountain. The summit was suffocated by dense yin kai. Grotesque arrays were carved into the ground, and corpses littered the area like a grim forest. Most were of the human race, though a scattered few belonged to the Yao clan, the Sea Demon clan, and bizarre species he couldn't even name. In the dead center of the peak sat a massive furnace cauldron, engulfed in roaring flames and spewing thick black smoke. Blood-curdling screams and frantic pounding echoed from inside the cauldron. There were living people burning alive in there. Standing beside the black furnace with his hands clasped behind his back was a middle-aged man in black robes, a wicked crow tattoo inked onto his face. He stared at Reverend of 6 Daos and Fang Chen with dead, emotionless eyes. He casually swept his gaze over Reverend of 6 Daos before locking onto Fang Chen. "You're the guest of Venerable Mantra, aren't you?" Shock rippled through Fang Chen. He hadn't even sensed the spatial shift. He was teleported here in the blink of an eye. The sheer terror of such power was mind-numbing. This was the overwhelming might of a true venerable. Thud, thud, thud. The frantic banging from within the black cauldron echoed once more. Casting a suspicious glance at the black cauldron, Fang Chen replied calmly, "That would be me, senior." Noticing Fang Chen's gaze, Venerable Evil Crow didn't even try to hide it. Just some disobedient pests. Simply killing them would be a waste, so I'm conveniently refining them into a yin corpse. If you want one, I'll give it to you later, provided you really have brought back an ancient giant. Fang Chen's heart skipped a beat. Venerable Evil Crow was as ruthless as ever, turning the living into yin corpses. It was beyond cruel. He bowed deeply. "Senior, we truly have captured a live ancient giant." He produced a crystal shard and funneled spiritual energy into it, projecting an image into the air. It showed an underground chamber where a bound ancient giant was struggling violently. Venerable Evil Crow's eyes widened with greed. "You actually found a live ancient giant. But why isn't it here?" He glared at Fang Chen and the Reverend of 6 Daos, his voice dropping an octave. "What, do you doubt I'll keep my word?" The two felt their insides churn under the pressure. Fang Chen held his ground against the crushing gaze and bowed calmly. "Please, senior, calm your anger. That wasn't our intention at all. Every major sect and countless powerhouses are hunting ancient giants. We wouldn't dare parade him through the streets to the Great Yin Sect." The explanation was logical enough. Venerable Evil Crow's voice relaxed slightly. "The fact that you caught a live ancient giant proves you're not ordinary. You don't need to be this paranoid." "Fine, lead the way." Fang Chen bowed, looking hesitant. "Senior, could we exchange the reward first?" Venerable Evil Crow scowled. "Impatient brat," he snapped. "The deal was that I'd step in for you once. Have you already decided on your favor?" Fang Chen quickly said, "Senior, I actually want to trade that for something else." Hearing this, Venerable Evil Crow considered the offer. "Let's hear it." A single favor sounded simple, but it was actually a massive liability. If they asked him to protect them when the ancient giants descended, he'd have to choose between them and the Great Yin Sect. If Fang Chen asked for something easier, he was more than happy to make the swap. Fang Chen said, "I've heard you've mastered a cultivation method called Star Shift. I've admired it for a long time and was hoping to study it." Venerable Evil Crow narrowed his eyes, radiating an invisible, suffocating pressure. "You're after my personal cultivation method. You've got quite the nerve." Fang Chen's heart sank. As expected, the old monster wasn't going to hand over his secret art easily. "Senior, I've managed to offend a venerable expert. I need this technique to survive." "But if you don't want your secrets getting out, you could always just kill him for me instead." Venerable Evil Crow stared him down, his mind racing. "Not many people know you have this ancient giant, do they?" He could just torture the location out of them and pay nothing. Fang Chen felt a chill. The old fox was definitely planning to screw them over. Fortunately, he'd anticipated this. He bowed and said, "If both options are too difficult, Senior, that's fine. We'll just take the ancient giant back to the White Horse Temple and let Bodhisattva Heavenly Hearing decide what to do with him." He gave the Reverend of 6 Daos a subtle nudge. "Hey, you old geezer, say something." "I told you to pose as the Bodhisattva's disciple, not a wooden post." The Reverend of 6 Daos wanted to scream. "Oh, so I'm the one who has to lie to a venerable's face, huh?" But they were right. Venerable Evil Crow was planning to backstab them and keep the ancient giant for himself. He had to play his part. He pressed his palms together in a prayer pose. My master, the Bodhisattva, is also interested in studying the ancient giants. If you have no use for it, I shall return it to the White Horse Temple. Venerable Evil Crow's brow furrowed. Bodhisattva, heavenly hearing, had almost certainly heard those words just now. If he killed them now, he'd be murdering the Bodhisattva's people right under his nose, and one of them was his secular disciple. He remembered the overwhelming power the Bodhisattva had displayed at the sky-touching black pillar, and a flash of fear crossed his eyes. During that encounter at the sky-touching black pillar with the 5-star giant king, there were 3 soul transformation experts and 1 Bodhisattva. Only the Bodhisattva could take a direct hit from the king. He was a monster. Making an enemy out of the Bodhisattva for a single cultivation method wasn't worth it. After a moment of internal debate, he withdrew his killing intent. Fine, star shift is yours. But let me be clear, this cultivation method is not easy to master. If you fail, don't say I didn't warn you. So far, the only technique Fang Chen couldn't crack was the Imperial Kai observation technique. He didn't think star shift would be any different. He bowed immediately. I'm eternally grateful for your generosity, Senior. I would never dream of blaming you. A sequence of characters formed from condensed Yin Kai, headed by the title Star Shift. Fang Chen took it, a look of delight on his face. Thank you, Venerable Senior. I won't disturb your Yin corpse refining any longer. I'll take my leave now. Under the intense stare of Venerable Evil Crow, he and the Reverend of 6 Daos slowly backed away. Just as they were about to leave, he paused and added, Senior, about this giant. He remembered the Giant King's ability to regenerate from a single drop of blood. All it took was 1 drop and a star, and he could be reborn on the spot. And if he recalled correctly, the Giant King's mangled corpse had shown signs of being gnawed on. It had to have been that other ancient giant. In other words, this giant must have a lot of the Giant King's blood inside it. Could it also regenerate from a single drop? He felt he had to warn Venerable Evil Crow, just in case that blood ever came into contact with a source star, and the giant was suddenly reborn. But then, his eyes flickered to the silent, black cauldron. A shiver of doubt went through him, and he instantly dismissed the idea. Better not to complicate things. What if Venerable Evil Crow found out about the source star, and decided he wanted it for himself? What is it you wanted to say? Venerable Evil Crow asked. Fang Chen changed his tune. I just wanted to say, I hope you succeed in refining the ancient giant into a Yin corpse. It will be a formidable weapon on the battlefield one day. Venerable Evil Crow waved a dismissive, impatient hand. Fang Chen said no more and quickly left with the Reverend of 6 Daos. Let's just hope that Yin Corpse never gets its hands on a source star, but if it does come back to life, I just hope it takes its revenge on Venerable Evil Crow and leaves innocent people out of it. After watching them leave, Venerable Evil Crow didn't rush off to find the ancient giant. Instead, he turned to the grand hall behind him and scowled. Stop skulking in the shadows. What do you want? The sect master of the Great Yin Sect scurried out, his eyes fixed on the direction Fang Chen had gone. Venerable, you should have killed them both just now. When he learned Fang Chen had come to the Great Yin Sect, he'd been terrified, certain that Fang Chen was there to expose his allegiance to the Giant King. Thankfully, Fang Chen hadn't said a word, but that only strengthened his resolve to kill him. As long as Fang Chen knew his secret, he was a walking disaster waiting to happen. It was a shame. Venerable Evil Crow had been on the verge of killing them, but in the end, he'd been forced to back down. Venerable Evil Crow said dismissively, "They're just 2 ants. What difference does it make whether they live or die?" The sect master of the Great Yin Sect protested, wringing his hands. But Fang Chen took your star shift. That's your most secret technique. How could you let an outsider learn it? Venerable Evil Crow let out a dry chuckle. You've practiced the star shift yourself. Did you ever succeed? No. The sect master of the Great Yin Sect admitted, ashamed. And why not? The sect master of the Great Yin Sect replied, beyond being a high-tier Earth-grade technique that's incredibly difficult to comprehend, it requires an immense amount of Yin Kai. The Great Yin Sect no longer has enough Yin Kai to support the cultivation of this art. Venerable Evil Crow said coolly, exactly. So what use is that cultivation method to him? Hearing this, the sect master's brow unfurrowed. You're right. If even the Great Yin Sect can't gather that much Yin Kai, where in the world is Fang Chen going to find it? 1,000 miles away, the Reverend of 6 Daos hastily ripped off his keseya, shoving it, along with a golden alms bowl and a monk's staff, into Fang Chen's hands. You brat, we're through. Don't you ever come looking for me again. Fang Chen rubbed his nose. Relax. This isn't the first or second time I've posed as an emissary of the Bodhisattva, and I'm still fine, aren't I? The Reverend of 6 Daos bristled, his eyes wide with anger. You know nothing about the Bodhisattva. To the pleas of the living, there will always be a response. That was one of the 3 great vows he made to the heavens and earth when he achieved his Bodhisattva attainment. Whenever any living creature makes a plea to him, he will answer in one way or another. You're fine for now, only because he can't be bothered with you. But sooner or later, he will respond. Always a response. Fang Chen's eyes went wide. So, all those times he'd impersonated the Bodhisattva's emissary, it wasn't that there were no consequences. It was that the Bodhisattva was keeping a tab, waiting to settle the final score. The Reverend of 6 Dao's face was grim. You've posed as his lay disciple, you've posed as his emissary, neither of us can escape this now. One of these days, you and I are going to meet at the White Horse Temple, and we'll have to call each other brother disciple. I got the cultivation method for you. You're on your own now. I'm going to find my daughter. Goodbye. Fang Chen watched him go, offering a grateful salute. I hope you find your daughter soon. With that, he took out the haigu and began to examine it closely. A high-tier Earth-grade technique. Shouldn't be too hard to comprehend, and it needs a massive amount of yin kai. That doesn't sound too difficult either, does it? The yin kai within Asura King Ashoka's domain is far purer than anything in the Great Yin Sect. He really had no idea what part of this venerable evil crow considered difficult. Puzzled, he decided to find a suitable place for the cultivation of this art. His life, after all, depended on it. Besides that, he also needed to make a trip to the giant family to learn their concealment technique. He calculated the time. They were supposed to meet at the sky-touching Black Pillar in 6 days. Factoring in travel time, he only had a few days to spend with the giant family. So as he rushed toward the giant family's territory, he kept an eye out for any suitable places for cultivation along the way. A day later, Fang Chen came to a stop in the air above a canyon, just a few hours' journey from the giant family. Waves of yin kai rose from the canyon below, a perfect place for the cultivation of star shift. He dove straight in without a second thought. An unknown amount of time passed. Just as Fang Chen was nearing the end of his cultivation session, several figures streaked across the sky in the distance, unleashing terrifying shockwaves as they fought. He looked closer. A dozen or so people were ganging up on a single person. The one being surrounded was an unrivaled master, his eyes glowing red. A boundless, murderous aura swirled around him, his sanity completely gone. The suffocating aura rolling off him confirmed it. This was a powerhouse at the peak nascent soul realm. There was no mistaking it. This was an unparalleled master driven completely insane. A 9 aperture nascent soul. The cultivators swarming him were bound in heavy shackles, and shockingly, every single one of them was an 8 aperture nascent soul. Despite their overwhelming numbers, the gap in sheer combat power was astronomical. Every strike unleashed by the 9 aperture nascent soul landed with apocalyptic force, shattering mountains and tearing through the battlefield like a raging tsunami. The swarming 8 aperture nascent souls were blasted away with effortless ease. Divine light and violent shockwaves tore through the air, painting the sky crimson as a gruesome rain of blood poured down over the battlefield. Every now and then, an 8 aperture nascent soul would be blown to pieces, their body completely obliterated. An elder, his beard soaked in blood and his eyes burning crimson, roared out, "We can't let him escape. The giant family cannot afford to spawn another human fiend." Leading the charge, he gripped his massive halberd and threw himself straight into the bloodbath. Let's pour one out for sect honor. The sect master of the Great Yin Sect talks a big game for 2 seconds before shanking his own elder for a pat on the head from a literal monster. Absolute cinema. Even the Reverend of 6 Dao's, a career villain, is looking like a saint next to this clown. This isn't just one man's treachery, it's the righteous path exposing itself as a total fraud. In a world this broken, where loyalty is the first thing sold, has Fang Chen's cold-blooded scheming officially become the new definition of heroism.